A huge Shaco Easter egg that nobody knows about is that whenever you ult, your clone leaves behind a tiny green pixel, and if we zoom in really hard we can observe that inside it, it says
Voy a la playa, había subido la marea.
Right, I'm just kidding. I mean, your clone still lives behind that green pixel wherever it spawns, but I mean, let's just start the video. Boom! Welcome to the only Shaco guide you'll ever need. In this video, I'll be going over Shaco's kit, how it works with the best build I have found so far. I'll then show you the best jungle starts and jungle routes, how to properly invade and counter jungle. Furthermore, I will also show you the best combos that you can use with Shaco to one-shot people. And finally, give you the best tips and tricks that I have found in the past 6 years while maining Shaco. I especially have a very interesting jungling strategy that I'm sure almost nobody knows about and that will help you in 99% of the early game matchups. Timestamps for all the chapters are on the screen and in the description down below. Also, like and sub if you want to see the channel grow, and a huge thanks to everyone for the support so far. Let's begin. Shaco is one of the best, if not the best, high utility, low cooldowns, basic attack focused assassin. And the new season 11 items synergize so well with this kit, it actually makes Shaco so much more fun to play. And in this video I will show you the most optimal and best way to play Shaco in order to climb the ladder and solo carry games. I will assume most of you watching already know the basics of Shaco, so I will dive straight into the build and why it synergizes so well with Shaco's abilities. The best build so far I've found and that works best in any elo I've played in is the full crit build, with Gale Force as its core item. Quick side note, players who prefer starting with Tiamat in order to hit that early game power spike can still do so, as long as you either never complete the Tiamat and sell it in the late game, or complete it last, depending on whether you want some healing or more HP. I personally haven't been playing with Tiamat at all anymore, as the new Quiver is a decent replacement when it comes to farming the jungle, engaging in 1v1s and ganking. Therefore, you want to start with a build by focusing on completing the Gale Force and the Berserker Greaves. The Berserkers give you the best 1v1 potential as well as super fast clear speed. But Gale Force, why this item in particular? It's because how well it fucking works when going for backstabs, also because of its active damage, which is AP so you can execute anyone, and the rage is so stupid as well. I mean, if you use your Q with Shaco and break the stealth, you still have a few seconds window to get a Q plus backstab crit bonus, meaning that if an enemy is too far away you can use the Gale Force to get closer to them and still get a crit damage from the Q with backstab. Meanwhile, they're also taking damage from the Gale Force active, and then you crit them with your E. Doing so enables you to one-shot any dummies overextend. You can also run away if you get caught, or just use its insane range to last hit. It's such a good item, and did I even mention that its active damage is AP? Well, with the runes rework and with the fact that 99% of the champions in this game have lower magic resist than armor, you will do so much more damage with anything that deals AP, meaning that the Gale Force active does more damage than the Prowler Scrolls active, and it even has a fucking execute that you can combine with your E. I mean, whew! Furthermore, as your third item after the Gale Force and boots, you always want to go for the Sheen, which you'll always build into the Essence River. Because of its passive, which gives you extra damage when combined with Shaco's Q, backstab and Gale Force active, you can go for insane damage and even one-shots if you execute a full combo perfectly. As your fourth item, you have a choice between Infinity Edge if you want more damage, or the Navori Quick Blades if you want more utility. And please, stop telling me that the Collector is a good item, it's just not worth it. I will never give up the utility that I get from the Navori Quick Blades or the OP bonus 35% crit damage of the Infinity Edges just to get a 5% damage execute. And the problem with the Collector, no, the problem with all Telltale builds in general and why they are so weak in the current meta is because of the way armor interacts with lethality and armor penetration. And what I mean by that is, the more armor an enemy has, the less effective lethality and armor penetration becomes. For instance, if I were to have 50 lethality at level 18, while the enemy I am focusing has 50 armor, I'll reduce their armor to 0, basically doing 2 damage to them. Which you might say it's OP, but if an enemy has 150 armor, which equals to 60% resistance to physical damage, my 50 lethality will reduce their armor to 100, which equals to 50% resistance against physical damage, meaning that I only do 10% more damage because of the way armor scales. That's why lethality is useless against anyone who builds some armor. To give you a perfect visual example, a dummy with 500 armor will take 83% reduced physical damage. Now, if I were to buy 30% armor penetration, I'll reduce reduced the dummy's armor by 150 to 350. It might sound like I reduced its armor by a lot, but in reality the dummy still has 78% resistance against physical damage, meaning that in reality that 150 armor penetration only reduces the dummy's physical damage resistance by 5%, and to be honest, it might as well be 0 because there's no difference in the damage you will do at that point. That's why it's best to build full crit, and the crit build will give you great stats to try and force as much damage as it can even when enemies have armor. In this instance, I will compare the damage between a full lethality build and a full crit build against dummies with 50, 150, 350 and 500 armor to see which build has more damage. Not only does the crit build have more damage against the lower armor dummy, but has more damage for basic attack against every dummy, has better DPS, has even better utility in certain situations, and to be honest, the cost difference is not even that big, where the crit build sits at 17,100 gold and the lethality build sits at 16,700 gold. And since the crit items give better stats, the build is so much better. Oh, and as a reminder, that's also why AP damage is better than AD, because usually people have lower magic resistance. Now, your last item can be pretty much anything you want, but I like to go either with Raw or Dominic's Regards, or for more reminder, if I want more attack speed and movement speed. Or if the enemy team has a heavy AP comp, I will go for something like the Movement Mortius, as it gives you both AD and magic resistance, besides a really good shield when you're low HP. I will also go super fast of the best runes for this build and how they synergize with it. As your main keystones, you always want to take Hail of Blades, because of how AP the burst damage is in combination with a full crit build. Then you want to take Chip Shot, because you can activate it with your E, and it's usually really good in the early game. Next you want to take Eyeball Collection, because you can stack it fast with Shaco, and it helps with mid to late game scaling. And lastly, you want to take Relentless Hunter to be able to roam like crazy and get behind enemies as fast as you can. Secondarily, I always take Precision with Legend Bloodline. You already have enough attack speed from the items, so that's why the lifesteal from this rune feels better than the attack speed from the Legendal Accuracy. On top of that, Cup of Grease improves the execute damage from your E and Gale Force. Then you obviously want to take attack speed, adaptive damage and armor, so you can clear the jungle as fast as possible while taking no damage. Now I will show you the best jungle starts and jungle routes in order to dominate and win the early game 99% of the times and carry your team's ass. I will show you two of the best jungle starts, beginning with my personal favorite one. You always want to start on the same buff as the enemy jungler starts on. For instance, if the enemy starts on the red buff, you also want to start on your red buff. Luckily nowadays, literally everyone starts on the bot side to get a better leash. To put it in simple terms, if you don't know on which side the enemy started, you want to start on the top side and 99% of the times you should be fine. The starting strategy is as following. You want to place two boxes where the first one is on the buff and the second one is far away enough to not instantly activate as well. You want to kite the buff and let your boxes tank the damage as often as possible. After it attacks the second box once, you can place the third one on top of the buff. Like this, you can start either on blue or red buff and clear it while remaining with full HP afterwards. And you will be needing that HP, because you will now be going straight for the enemy buff. Oh, one more thing, you always want to max Q second, because it gives you more damage and you need it to get to the enemy side of the jungle as fast as possible. Also, pretty much no one knows how to react to a level 2 invade. In fact, 90% of the times, they won't even know that you're there, since nowadays no one invades in the early game. So with practice, you will become a god at doing this, and you'll succeed each time. What you want to do now is to just play it safe. So place one burst towards the other side of the enemy jungle, so you can see when the enemy jungler comes in. But let's stop time for a second. Remember when I told you that I have something to show you that no one else knows about? While doing the blue buff, after the box dies, you can use your Q to get behind the blue buff to do more damage to it. You might say now, wait a second, I already knew about this. But watch carefully. If you don't move for 1 second, for some reason the blue buff goes away. In order to understand what happens, I must tell you that whenever a jungle monster loses aggro on whoever was fighting, it will automatically pick the next closest target to itself, regardless of whether or not said enemy is in any line of sight. Meaning that always against a jungle monster, if you Q while fighting it, you can check whether or not there's an enemy in a circle area around the respective jungle camp. All you have to do is watch if the jungle monster will start walking away or not. As a matter of fact, the direction in which the monster will start going towards also indicates where the enemy is located. In this instance, someone is behind the frog's wall. We can see that by the way the blue buff starts walking towards the frog. Obviously, when used in the right condition, this can be very useful. So if you guys like my content and find what you've seen so far useful, please subscribe and like this video, so we can all grow this channel together. And I'm also posting videos every week, so you know, I don't think you guys want to miss that. Also, one more thing, if you want to watch me apply the strategies in real time, I'm live streaming here on YouTube and on twitch.tv/MikeTheClone, where you can also follow me. Alright, let's get back at it. Next, you want to take the frog. Now that you are level 3 and almost full HP, the enemy jungler will most likely show up at its wolves. At this point you can just YOLO them. Smite the wolves to steal them or just focus the enemy jungler. Also place a box down towards where you want to block their way. Let's stop time again though. Another 1 million IQ strategy for when fighting in 1v1's early game is to use your box on a camp while fighting or when running away. I even have a perfect example for this. When running away from this fight I used my box on the raptors and immediately got back into the fight. I was super low HP so I baited the enemy into fighting me, but because of the box I placed on the raptors camp that started healing me, I basically became immortal. The enemy team simply couldn't understand what the fuck was happening, and so we won the early game. So, as you probably guessed by now, I was exploiting the healing effect you get from the jungler's items passive when damaging a jungle monster. This also works on wolves and crocs. You can literally get back to full HP by placing one box down on the camp and using one charge of your viable potion. Back to the strat, if you don't feel comfortable using those 1 million IQ tips to fight yet, you can always just go for the skull crab or gank the top lane or bot lane, depending on whichever is closer. Either way, you still have your other buff, so no matter what happens from now on, you're already at an advantage and probably made the enemy jungler be angry as fuck. Moving on, the next start is a safer option where you want to farm as fast as possible and gank the bot lane or top lane as fast as possible. I guess this start is also known as the Korean start, where you place 3 boxes at the raptors, then start doing the red buff, and while doing it you place the 4th box over the wall that will finish the raptors off. You then want to go straight for the crocs and keep your smite for the big one, and so on until you fully clear the jungle. I'm honestly not a big fan of this one, but if you want to play it safe, you can go for it. Oh, one more extra tip I can give you for when counter jungling: always place wards at choke points, where the enemy jungler will usually pass through. For instance, in those places. Quick note, I usually place wards on open paths as well, so I can get vision while the enemy jungler is doing camps. Like here for instance, where I can see them clear both the blue buff and the frog. Like this, you'll know where they are, so you can act accordingly. Also let your team know by pinging the location of the enemy jungler. Like this, you might deny them the opportunity to gank your laners. Another small thing that can make a huge difference: always check which buff the enemy jungler has on them, and how much time they've got left from that buff. You can do so by clicking on them and checking the stats bar underneath their HP. Like this, you can tell which buff they took and when, also which buff they got left, or if they took one of your buffs. But before moving on, let's stop time again. It's time for a third 1 million IQ tip. This is best used when running away from someone or for when going for a gank. And what I mean by that is that you should really abuse the trash vision system in this game. When running away from someone and you Q away, never run straight towards where you want to go. If there are multiple enemies chasing after you, you want to lose sight of them as fast as possible, and the best way to do so is to cut corners. For instance, you can see how I'm running away from an enemy and they can still see me from really far away. But if I hug the wall and cut the corner, they can be 1 foot away and they won't see me. I mean, doing this is overpowered because enemies are more likely to lose interest in chasing you if they lose sight of you for longer and if they can't find you again in the first few seconds after your Q expires. This can also be used when wanting to gank someone. Hug walls at awkward angles in such way to get as close as possible to an enemy without them seeing you before using your Q to close the gap. Like this, you'll have an even better chance at getting behind them and zoning them out with your box while backstabbing them. My fourth 1 billion IQ tip is for when chasing someone. Almost never use your Q straight into an enemy when chasing, only when you know for certain that you can insta-kill them by doing so. Always use the terrain around you. In this example, I'm using the wall near the crocs to place myself in front of my enemy and place a box down, not only gaining so much more terrain in front of them compared to me using the Q just straight into them to backstab them, but I'm also zoning them with my box, cutting their escape route. A fifth 1 billion IQ move you can do is, when you know you're fucked, never lose hope. Messing with the enemies and annoying them until the last second is the best thing that you can do for your team. Waste the enemy team's time as much as you can, but not only, be as awkward as you can. Use your Q so stupidly that even you don't know where you're going. And the best Q trick that I can give you to evade enemies is as following. Shaco has a small cast time before going invisible, so before you Q in the direction you want, move for a split second in the opposite direction. This will make enemy players that think themselves smart think they know the actual direction, because in their brain they're like, oh my god, this Shaco's so stupid, he literally showed me where he actually used his Q by turning towards that direction for a split second before using his Q. I can't do this shit, man. Who wrote this fucking script? Fuck those players, man, because I mean, you just took a fat shit on them. So if you didn't know about this, you're welcome. Go trash some smart asses. Alright, now that you know what to build and how to counter jungle, I will show you the 4 best combos I use and explain in what situations you want to be using them. The first combo is for when ganking in the early to mid game. You want to get as close as you can to your enemy by abusing the vision system like I showed you. Then you want to queue behind, place a box where the enemy will be trying to retreat towards. Now go for a backstab, attack 2 or 3 times with Hail of Blades until the respective enemy is low enough HP for you to be able to finish off with E. You can also use Ignite in those fights, and if Ignite is needed, I always recommend that you use it early to cancel any healing that your enemy has, be it from abilities or potions. The second combo is best for when you are in the mid to late game and the enemy that you are focusing is either on low HP or you know that you can easily one-shot them. Wait, why does it say one-shot in the script? Dude, I swear. Anyways, the combo is as following. You jump in with Q, you backstab, attack again or use your E, and then immediately attack again, resulting in a one-shot with only 2 to 3 basic attacks, enhanced by the Hail of Blades and 1 E. And of course, if need be, you can then use the clone to get away. This combo can also feature the Gale Force if you're too far away to go for the backstab and just need a little push towards your enemy. And as I already shown you, all you have to do is use the Gale Force, backstab, E, attack again if need be, and your enemy should be dead. The third combo is mainly focused on when you must one-shot someone in an instant and don't care about dying for it. This time, after using your Q, you want to place yourself in front of the direction the enemy is walking towards. Like this, you'll give yourself time to cast ult. You want to place both yourself and your clone as close as you can to said enemy so you can both attack at the same time. Like this, you'll have even better burst since the clone is there to assist. But this move can leave you open. So another way to do it in order to play it as safe as you can, after ulting, let the clone attack once or twice while you're still invisible. Like this, you can fool enemies into thinking that the clone is real you. So then you can go in for an assassination on whoever you want to get. The only problem with this combo is that in the late game, enemies will probably just walk away from the clone or quickly realize what's happening. That's why if you want to insta-kill someone, you best attack at the same time as the clone. I mean, it's really all situational, but realizing what combo you want to use in what situation, it's up to you. The fourth combo is for needing as much damage as you can, for instance when fighting a more tanky champion or someone with a lot of life still. To be able to fight those champions, you want to Q, backstab them, attack again, and then use your clone. Now your clone will have the permanent Hail of Blades buff on itself. What I usually do now is use the clone to kite as much as I can and force the enemy into fighting it. The reason why it's easy to do so is because of Shaco's E passive, that slows enemies whenever you or your clone attack them as long as your E is off cooldown. And after the enemy is low enough HP, I usually just jump in again with Q, attack them once or twice, E, ignite if need be, and that's it. They should be dead by now. A bonus combo, which is super cheeky and that I want to show you, is kind of a classic. You want to place box down beside you inside the brush while the enemy is not aware of your presence there, and when they walk inside the bush, you attack the enemy, and if they run away with flash, you still have your Q to catch up to them and your E to finish them off. One more detail about this combo is that you kinda wanna place the box a bit behind you in the bush, so the enemy would walk closer towards you without the box feeding them and giving your position away. And of course, during any of these combos, you can always use Ignite whenever you think you must. I would personally recommend to use Ignite before your E, so deal just that extra damage to be sure that you get the bonus crit damage from your E. And those are the combos. The timestamps for the combos are on the screen if anyone wants to revisit any of them. Chapter 4. Best tips and tricks. For the last chapter of this guide, I will be showing you the best tips and tricks for Shaco that I know. Woo! Those tips and tricks are in no particular order, so let's begin. One of the best clone tricks is after you use your clone and are fighting someone but the clone is far away and you have your Q up, use your Q behind said enemy that you're fighting and recall the clone towards you. Like this, the enemy that you're fighting will think that the clone is you trying to go for a backstab, and chances are they'll burst it down, and by doing so dooming themselves. Next, your clone can also attack inhibitors and the nexus by pressing R on them, so you can only attack those units by holding Alt and pressing right click on them. Next, you can give your clone a perma Hail of Blades buff. All you have to do is attack once or twice to get the Hail of Blades buff yourself, and then ult and your clone will spawn in with a permanent Hail of Blades buff. So that's kinda nice, I guess. Hashtag features, by the way. You can also stack items like the Phantom Dancer, then ult, and the clone will have the Phantom Dancer's bonus attack speed passive on itself until it dies or expires. Meaning that with a bonus attack speed, your clone can do stuff like this. The only downside of this is that the clone cannot exceed 2.5 attack speed even with the Hail of Blades. You can also dodge tower shots. I mean, the safest way to do it is by using your clone early when the tower shot is far away. Like this, the tower shot will disappear, cancelling itself as it loses target. One more thing about towers is when it comes to resetting the tower aggro with the clone, the downside is that if there are no minions and you use your clone, the tower will always target the real Shaco unless there is someone else or something else besides the clone and the real Shaco inside its range. The only way to make the tower focus the clone in this situation situation is to have a minion wave with you or place a box down beside you before using a clone. Bonus fun fact about towers, destroying a tower while its shot comes towards you makes the shot do no damage, hashtag even more features I guess. You can also use your clone to pass through some thin walls by clicking on the other side of the wall. But not only you can make it so that your clone is the one passing through to the other side of the wall while you remain on the same side. All you have to do is press R while having the mouse pointed in the opposite direction of the wall. Another fun fact, your clone lives behind a tiny Easter egg, but I guess you already know what the Easter egg is, so I'll just fucking skip this one, man. The clone also copies status effects, so if someone ignites you and then you ult, the clone will also have the ignite status on it, but I believe it does no damage to the clone. You can also use your clone to dodge abilities like Mordekaiser or Zed's ult, denying him the opportunity to leave the mark on you. Another useful way in which you can use Shaco's Q is whenever you want to take the Drake but you don't want to waste your ult and still want to dodge the Drake's push, you can Q at the same time that the dragon tries to knock you back. Now I will show you the best walls you can Q over that most people don't know about. First I will show you on the map the most common positions from where you want to Q when ganking. And before showing you the best positions from which you can Q that most people don't know about, I will show you one more Q trick. If the wall that you want to Q through is thin enough, you can actually be at a quite long distance from the wall and still be able to Q through it, like in these examples. Like this, you can easily fool enemies into thinking that you went in one direction when in reality you went in the exact opposite one. While editing the video, I realized that I actually forgot about this Q, which is super useful when you want to gank the mid lane. You can actually Q through this wall to put you behind the enemy, which is super useful, especially when they're playing a bit more defensively. So instead of queuing normally and try to get behind them like this, you can use this wall to your advantage. All you have to do while inside this brush is click exactly on this owl's eye and you'll pass through the wall. Starting off with the first Q that most people don't know about is when you want to gank the top lane, you can Q from behind this wall to get behind the enemy in the lane. You usually want to do this when the river is warded. To be able to Q through this wall, all you have to do is stay right underneath this tree and use your Q around this area. You will always pass through this wall and be at a quite decent distance from the tower's range. And obviously, just like on the top side, you can Q through this wall in the exact same way on the bot side. Another Q that most people don't know about is this one through this super thick wall on the bot lane, and also the reason why this Q is so useful is because you can do it from inside the brush. All you have to do is be exactly at the brush's edge and Q in the middle of this waterfall. One more fun thing, you can actually obviously see that I'm not inside the brush when I actually am, so this brush kinda works in a funny way I guess, and it works on the exact same way on the top side. Another Q that most people don't really know about and don't use is this one here in particular, where you can Q through the Krug's wall. This one can be useful especially when you're running from someone through the jungle. And at the end, one last fun fact, if there's a Shaco on both teams, one of them fears the other one with the box, while feared Shaco starts laughing. Hehe XD. That's it. That's the guide. Like and sub or else. I have a gun, don't fucking make me, man. By the way, there are 2 more videos of mine. I'm usually a funny guy, I guess. What I mean by that is that I say fuck a lot. So yeah, be sure to check one of my stream highlights. Or if you wanna see me rumble more about Shaco builds, you can check this video out, where I'm talking about all the items that are available on Shaco on Season 11. And yeah, thanks for watching, and until next time, don't trip and break your neck, guys. Stay safe. I shouldn't record while I'm drunk.